All right, people. Thanks for coming back to the page here. Thanks to all those of you who are supporting this channel and also helping me out over on Patreon just by watching the videos. We might be having an impact. I'd like to think of myself, though, more pointing the way, kind of like a John the Baptist kind of guy who's pointing toward, those who are doing real work like Jimmy Dore, Nico House, Jordan over at Status Coup. I mean, these are the people that are making a huge impact. Kim Iverson, whose videos lately have just been, network quality, at least in production value. I don't want to insult her. Network quality in that sense, but not in the truth-telling sense. Kim Iverson just did this video about Julian Assange. It's must-see TV, again. So check her stuff out here. Tulsi Gabbard dropped a political ad today. This isn't really an advertisement, but it's more or less a production.
I'm really grateful to have been able to be here in Hawaii this morning to see off almost 200 soldiers from the Hawaii Army National Guards, 1st of the 487 Field Artillery Battalion, who are going to be deploying to Afghanistan. We have your back. Hikino!
Hikino! This 400 days is going to be long.
This unit specifically was the unit I deployed with during my second deployment. So there were a lot of people there who I served with during that deployment. There were a lot of new faces, a lot of younger soldiers, people who've never been deployed before. It's been a tough morning, sending them all off, accepting that I'm not going with them. A lot of my friends, they've served on 2 or 3, or this is their 4th deployment. For a bunch of them, they said this is going to be their last, primarily because it's been so tough on their families. Be safe. She'll come back.
Okay, so she, back in early April, and I think I already did a video about this, but I wanted to point it out because on Memorial Day weekend, a lot of people just, they're having barbecues. And, okay, you can have a barbecue. But at some point, you've got to do a little bit of reflection about what is happening in our country and why we need Memorial Day. I know every country has a day, or most countries have a day where they honor those who've made the ultimate sacrifice defending their country's honor, fighting wars in other countries, whatever it is. And I started to think to myself that I wish we didn't need Memorial Day. I wish it didn't exist. Of course, we've had wars where, our vital national interests may have been at stake, but we haven't had one of those in quite some time. And Tulsi here, she's sending off veterans who shouldn't be going back on their 3rd and 4th deployment.
I will. Yeah. I talked to one friend of mine, actually. Both he and his wife are full-time soldiers in the Hawaii Army National Guard. I served with them during the last 2 deployments. He's going on this deployment. His wife is staying home. They've got 5 kids. The oldest is 15. I think the youngest is 3 years old. His 15-year-old said, Dad, you're not going to be around to help teach me how to drive. But, it's the things that
All right, so a lot of politicians do what they have to do out on the campaign trail. Tulsi Gabbard is actually living her life. Okay, her eyes are closed and it's kind of weird. So we'll let her speak some more. Obviously, she's teary-eyed here. When I first watched this, I was struck by how genuine she is and how this really got to her. This was like on the fly, we're going to record this, and she's going to talk from the heart. And you couldn't, if you're an actress, I don't think you could pull this off the way she did in the real sense. Because she's speaking from her heart. And the difference between, I would say, ordinary presidential candidates and Tulsi Gabbard is that she connects and she empathizes and she understands the cost of war. She literally understands that. Now, you can strategize. You can say, well, Tulsi, maybe she shouldn't look so vulnerable. Oh, really? Like America needs more fake? We've got fake news. We've got a president who doesn't have any emotion currently at all. None. He doesn't feel anything except he gets angry at everybody. And after a while, you're like, does this guy ever have, like, any true emotion? I mean, if you have parents like that, you're going to grow up to be an angry child. Maybe that's what happened to the guy. I don't care at this point. All I know is that any president we've ever had has been able to connect with people. Even if they were BSing, they were able to connect with people. Tulsi Gabbard would be a 180 from what we have now. She's genuine, and she speaks from the heart.
Never make it into the headlines, and it's the peoples whose names are not spoken. The reason why a lot of people in this country don't think about our foreign policy and the impact of it is because they don't know, perhaps, that we still have soldiers, we still have troops who are deploying. Put the politics aside. These are men and women of all ages who are willing to put their lives on the line for our country. Incredible, incredible people who are putting service above self. They are why it's so important. They are why it's critical that we honor their service, that we honor their great sacrifice by making sure that they are only sent on missions that serve the interests of the American people, that keep us safe, that we end these regime change wars that have proven so costly in so many ways. We're sending off almost 200 today, but there are many more who are currently deployed or soon to be deployed.
And that should be the message for this weekend, is that how can we prevent more memorials on Memorial Day? How can we prevent it? You know, we look at a problem here in the United States, drug abuse. How can we prevent more drug abuse? Teenage pregnancies. How can we have fewer? We look at problems and we try to, fix those problems or to make a dent. People are talking about opioids, and they should. They're everywhere. How can we stop that from happening? But nobody really talks about how we can have fewer memorials. We just look at this as a brave endeavor. And I think a lot of us have decided to say, well, I'm honoring the troops here on Memorial Day. So that makes it okay no matter where we send them, because we're honoring them. We're not even going to question the mission anymore. We're just going to say, you know what? These are brave people, and they are. And they're doing stuff that many of us would never do, which is true. But if we truly love our country and we truly value the service of these men and women, then we should be analyzing our foreign policy and saying, no, we don't need to send them on these missions. We don't. There's not a war currently going on, not anywhere in the world, that we need to send our bravest. We don't need to send them. They should all be coming home. There's not one war that has to do with America's security and vital, immediate national interests. This thing in Iran right now might make your head explode. When you dig into it, you're going to say, here we go again. Here we go again. Donald Trump, George W. Bush, no difference.
I will continue to do all that I can. I will continue to do everything I possibly can to bring them home as safely and quickly as possible, and to bring about this change in our foreign policy so that our troops are not continuously being sent off to fight in these regime change wars, that the missions that they are sent on are truly worthy of the great sacrifices that they and their families are making. Let's keep them at the forefront as a reminder of why we're doing what we're doing and who we're fighting for. Aloha.
All right. That's a real person. That's not just somebody running for office. That's a real human being with real emotions who connects with real people. What's it worth now? What's it worth? Apparently, in the current political climate, it's worth this much. Nothing. The polling data, the smearing, the guilt, the association, the guilt by association. I'm just shocked. They're making this woman out to be somebody who loves dictators and who doesn't understand America's role in the world. I want to say something. America's role in the world has to change, and Americans need to be the ones that stand up and demand it. I don't care what party you find yourself in or where you are in the political spectrum, but this has got to stop. This has got to stop. We've done it for too long. And I think people put up with it because inherently they think, well, these guys and gals are going off to war and they're keeping us safe. These wars are not making America safer. Why do we have a refugee crisis? Do you ever wonder? Is it just because everybody wants to come here for quote-unquote free stuff? No. It's because America, through its intervention, and not necessarily always military, just with sanctions, disruptions in various countries' economies, causes refugees to flee because there's nothing for them in that country. America is going around the world trying to remake the world in an image right now that itself needs a makeover. Our image needs a makeover. We're the last country on earth right now who should be going to other countries trying to make them over. And yet we do it, and we continue to do it. And Trump wants to go to Iran. And he's trying to rearrange what Venezuela is. And there's talk of other countries. There's always talk of another country that we have to mess around with. So, all I can say is it's Memorial Day, and I wish we didn't have more Memorial Days or more memorials, you know, we should be trying to cut the number of memorials down. We try to cut, like I said, we try to curb all these other things that we need less of and not more of. But it seems on Memorial Day, the body count just continues to climb. And there's really nobody's out there except for Tulsi, maybe a little Bernie Sanders here and there. But it's Tulsi who's saying, can we stop? Can we get off this thing? The American people want to get off of it. Trump won the election partly on the strength of people realized he's right. We don't need to go. When he was in the primaries, he said stuff that you could see Jeb Bush going out of his mind. On the other end of the stage, you had Rand Paul, who was clapping because he's probably the only other guy I can think of in Congress who gives speeches on the Senate floor saying, I want to talk about how we should oppose war. And he's good, but I think Tulsi has this unique ability to connect with everyday Americans in a way that maybe Rand Paul can't. And the fact that she is a Democrat and she's for bringing that money back to help rebuild the infrastructure, improve education, and so much more. So much more. We can debate on how that money gets used. If you're not into socialism, I get it. I understand what you're saying to me. Because I don't know. I don't know if I would call it socialism anyway. But I am for helping the people who need it the most. We talked about opioids. We talked about veterans. Those two groups right there. And most Republicans would agree with that. Most Republicans would agree. I don't know. So this is a message that's universal today. You can maybe gather some people together and think for a moment about why we need more memorials, an increase in memorials every Memorial Day. We should be having fewer memorials each year. We shouldn't continue to pile up and stack up soldiers who are losing their lives. We shouldn't be increasing that number every year exponentially. That number should start to come down as we bring our troops home. Anti-war, it needs to be cool again. It needs to be a thing. And just so you know, check this out. This is my little t-shirt here on Zazzle that I dreamed up. It's actually two-sided. It says, vote out politicians who support endless regime change wars. Ha ha! It's better than make love not war, isn't it? I don't know. The t-shirt might get banned. On the back it says Putin 2020. No, I'm kidding. It does not say Putin 2020. I don't know if this shirt is available to purchase yet, but if you click on it, let's see where this takes you. Yeah, look at this. You can go to the page. By the way, over here on Zazzle, I am Dave for Peace. You can even save 20% on Memorial Day. I get like $1.70 if people buy these. I'm cool though. I'm cool with it. I'm more impressed that there's a message on this shirt that would certainly raise a few eyebrows. So, that's my shirt. Or it's not mine. Could be yours, actually. I don't even have one of these. I'm going to have to order one for myself. Anyway, we need to make anti-war cool again. And we can, because anti-war is the coolest thing. So, war, what is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Alright, I'm done. Happy Memorial Day. And try to reflect on this stuff, because we need to.